I thought my husband loved me until the night I discovered the truth. He didn't just betray me, he sold me like a business deal. And the man he sold me to is powerful rival who called me his wife. Humiliation turned into fire and fire into revenge. This isn't a story about love lost. It's about a woman who rose from betrayal and took her life back. Because when they tried to destroy me, I shocked them both. My name is Alina. If someone had told me that marriage, the one thing I dreamed of since I was a little girl, would one day become my biggest nightmare, I would have laughed in their face. But now, as I sit here telling you my story, every laugh, every smile, every vow I believed in feels like a cruel joke. I wasn't just betrayed by the man I loved. I was forced into a situation so twisted, so humiliating, that it broke the very foundation of who I thought I was. And it all began with my husband, Daniel. Daniel wasn't just my husband. He was my first love, my protector, the man who promised me the world. We met in college. He was charming, confident, and had that smile that could melt even the coldest heart. I was young, shy, and hopelessly in love with him from the moment our eyes met. We married 2 years after graduation. At first, everything was perfect: our small apartment, late-night walks, cheap takeouts, and the way he used to hold me like I was the most precious thing in his world. But love has a strange way of changing when temptation enters. Daniel's career took off quickly. He became a project manager in a big company while I worked part-time at a local library. I didn't mind. I believed we were building our future together. But slowly, he started to drift away. At first, it was late nights at work. Then it was canceled dinners. Then his cold, detached responses whenever I tried to talk about us. And then came the night that changed everything. It was our wedding anniversary. I had spent hours preparing his favorite meal, dressing up in the white dress he once said made me look like an angel. I lit candles, set the table, and waited. The clock ticked. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Finally, at midnight, Daniel walked in. But he wasn't alone. A woman was with him, tall, gorgeous, dressed like she'd just walked off a runway. I froze. "Daniel, who is this?" I whispered. He looked at me with irritation, not guilt. "This is Claire," he said casually, as if introducing me to a coworker. We were just celebrating after work. Claire smirked, her eyes scanning me like I was nothing. And Daniel didn't even bother to hide it. He was with her. Something inside me broke that night. The days that followed were torture. Daniel didn't even try to hide his affair. He flaunted Claire in front of me, sometimes even bringing her into our house. And when I confronted him, do you know what he said? "You're my wife, Alina. You should understand. This is just how things are now. How things are now." I couldn't believe my ears. I wasn't his wife anymore. I was just a shadow, a placeholder. But I stayed. Not because I was weak, but because I was waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the truth to show itself. And oh, when it came, it shattered everything. One night, Daniel came home drunk. He slammed the door, staggered into the living room, and collapsed on the couch. Claire wasn't with him this time. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could talk to him while he was vulnerable. I sat beside him and whispered, "Daniel, do you even love me anymore?" His bloodshot eyes turned toward me. And then he said something that chilled me to my very core. "You'll always be my wife, Alina. But the moment you made me sleep with him, I knew you stopped being mine." I blinked, shocked. "What? What are you talking about?" "Sleep with who?" He laughed bitterly, pointing a shaky finger at me. "Don't play innocent. That night, you remember, you pushed me. You made me. And from that moment, you became his wife." My heart raced. His words didn't make sense. Was he lying? Was he confusing me with someone else? Or was there a truth buried beneath his drunken confession? I felt like the floor beneath me had crumbled. My husband wasn't just unfaithful, he was accusing me of betrayal. And deep down, a terrifying thought struck me. What if Daniel wasn't lying? That night, I couldn't sleep. His words haunted me. The moment you made me sleep with him, I knew you stopped being mine. Who was he talking about? What did he mean? My mind kept replaying every fight, every cold glance, every night he came home late. There was something I was missing. Something he wasn't telling me. But I promised myself I would find out the truth, no matter how painful it was. And what I discovered later would not only make Daniel regret every word he said to me, it would destroy his carefully built world. Because if he thought I was weak, if he thought I would bow down to his betrayal, he was dead wrong. This was just the beginning. Daniel thought he had trapped me in his lies. But the truth would be the very weapon I'd use to bring him down. The next morning, I woke up with Daniel's drunken words still echoing in my head. The moment you made me sleep with him, I knew you stopped being mine. What did that even mean? Sleep with who? I had never forced him into anything. If anything, I was the one begging for scraps of his attention while he paraded Claire around like some trophy. I tried to convince myself he was just drunk, speaking nonsense. But my gut told me otherwise. There was something behind those words. A hidden truth. And I wasn't going to rest until I uncovered it. The first crack in Daniel's story came when I confronted him the next evening. "Daniel," I said, standing in the doorway as he loosened his tie. "Last night, you said something strange. About me making you sleep with someone. What did you mean?" He froze for a split second, just long enough for me to notice. Then he smirked and shrugged it off. "You must have misheard. I don't remember saying anything like that, but I had heard him clearly." His casual dismissal was just fuel for my determination. He was hiding something, and I needed to know what. A week later, I got my chance. Daniel had left his phone on the counter while he was in the shower. Normally, he guarded that phone like it held state secrets. But that day, it was right there in front of me. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. His password hadn't changed. Of course, he thought I was too obedient to snoop. Messages. Calls. Pictures. Most of it was with Claire, as expected. But then I found something odd, a hidden chat with someone named Victor. The messages made my stomach twist. "Victor, you did well. She doesn't suspect anything. Daniel, she won't. She's too naive. She'll never know what happened that night. Victor, good. Because remember, she belongs to me now. The moment you handed her over, she became mine." My heart stopped. Handed me over? Belongs to him? I scrolled further, my breath shallow, my body shaking. "Daniel, I hate thinking about that night. But fine. If it keeps you satisfied and keeps her under control, then so be it. Victor, you did the right thing. She's not really your wife anymore. She's mine." My vision blurred. Tears stung my eyes. What were they talking about? What night? I hadn't been with anyone. I hadn't done anything. But here were two men speaking like I was some kind of possession, passed from one to another. Suddenly, Daniel's drunken words made horrifying sense. "The moment you made me sleep with him, I knew you stopped being mine." He wasn't talking about me betraying him. He was talking about himself. Daniel had done something behind my back. Something with Victor. And somehow, it involved me. I confronted him again that night, unable to hold back. "Who is Victor?" I demanded, slamming his phone onto the table. "And what did you mean in those messages? What night are you talking about?" Daniel's face drained of color. He looked at the phone, then at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. "You went through my phone?" he snapped. "Don't turn this on me," I shouted, tears burning my cheeks. "What did you do, Daniel? What did you mean when you said I became his wife?" He clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. You don't understand. It's complicated. Then make me understand. But instead of answering, he stormed out. That night, I cried myself to sleep. I felt trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I thought the betrayal was just Claire. I thought the worst he could do was humiliate me with another woman. But no, there was more. Something darker. Something I hadn't yet uncovered. And if Victor was involved, I knew I was in danger. The next day, while Daniel was at work, I decided to dig deeper. If he wouldn't tell me the truth, I would find it myself. I remembered a name from the messages, Victor. I searched through our old photos, old files, old contacts. And then I found it. Victor wasn't some stranger. He was Daniel's business partner. A wealthy, ruthless man who had invested in Daniel's company years ago. They used to come over for dinner sometimes, back when things were normal. I remembered how Victor used to look at me like I was something he wanted to own. I had brushed it off as arrogance back then. But now, it all fit together. Victor wanted me. And Daniel had given him something. Something connected to me. That evening, I couldn't contain my fury anymore. When Daniel returned home, I cornered him in the living room. Tell me the truth, I said, my voice shaking but firm. What did you do with Victor? What did you mean when you said I became his wife? He looked exhausted, his eyes bloodshot. He tried to brush past me, but I blocked his way. Answer me, I screamed. Finally, he stopped. His shoulders slumped. And when he spoke, his voice was low, almost a whisper. I had no choice, Alina. You think you know me, but you don't. I was desperate. Victor. He owns me. Without him, I'd lose everything. What does that have to do with me? I demanded. Daniel's eyes filled with something I had never seen before, shame. You'll never forgive me if I tell you. But fine. You want the truth? I held my breath. And then his words shattered me. That night, I gave you to him. My knees buckled as his confession cut through me like a knife. My own husband had given me away to another man. His words hit me like a storm. I gave you to him. I staggered backward, clutching my chest as if the air had been ripped from my lungs. What? What do you mean you gave me to him? Daniel refused to meet my eyes. He ran his hand over his face, pacing the room like a man trapped in a cage. You don't understand, Alina. Victor. He's not someone you say no to. He owns everything I have, the business, the house, my career. I owed him. And the only thing he ever wanted, he paused, his voice breaking, was you. I shook my head in disbelief. No. No, Daniel. You're lying. You wouldn't. My voice cracked as tears burned down my cheeks. You couldn't have traded me like some property. But the silence that followed screamed the truth. Tell me what happened that night, I whispered, my whole body trembling. Daniel sat down heavily, his face buried in his hands. It was after that party. You'd had too much to drink. You don't remember. But Victor, he took you to the room. And I let him. My world shattered. My knees gave out, and I collapsed onto the floor. 1,000 memories flooded my mind, the party, the drinks, the way I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache, thinking it was nothing but a hangover. I had never questioned it. Now I realized the truth. My own husband had delivered me into another man's arms. Daniel. My voice was nothing but a whisper, hoarse with betrayal. Do you hear yourself? You sold me. He flinched at the word, but he didn't deny it. I didn't want to, he shouted, his voice desperate, broken. But what choice did I have? Victor threatened to destroy me, to ruin us. I thought maybe it would be just once. I thought you'd never know. His excuses were like knives. You thought I'd never know? I spat, glaring at him through my tears. You stood there and let him. And you thought I'd never know? Daniel's eyes filled with tears, but it was too late. The damage was done. I felt sick. My stomach churned with disgust. Every memory of my marriage, every kiss, every promise felt poisoned now. You don't understand, Alina, he whispered, his voice shaking. Since that night, since I let him touch you, you've never really been mine. That's why I said it. You became his wife, not mine. The words made me want to scream. You're pathetic, I hissed. A coward. You let another man claim your wife and you call it love? I did it for us, he cried. For our future. No. I cut him off, my voice rising with fury. You did it for yourself. For your business. For your pride. You never thought about me, about what this would do to me. The silence that followed was suffocating. Daniel sat there, broken, while I stood trembling, consumed with rage and grief. And then, as if fate itself wanted to twist the knife deeper, my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. I hesitated, then opened it. My heart stopped. It was a photo. A photo of me from that night, the party dress, my eyes half closed, leaning against Victor's chest. His arm around me. His lips dangerously close to mine. And the caption beneath it. She was never yours, Daniel. She is mine now. I dropped the phone, my whole body shaking. Daniel picked it up, saw the message, and cursed under his breath. It's him, he muttered. He's not going to stop. I felt like I was drowning. Not only had Daniel betrayed me, but Victor was taunting us, reminding me of the nightmare I had unknowingly lived. And the worst part? I didn't even know the full truth of what Victor had done to me that night. Over the next days, things only got worse. Victor began sending more messages. Sometimes photos. Sometimes just chilling words. You belong to me. Your husband knows the truth. Do you? Soon, you'll accept it. You'll come to me willingly. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped with dread. Daniel tried to comfort me, but every time he touched me, I pulled away. His hands felt like chains, his voice like poison. I couldn't look at him without remembering his words. I gave you to him. One evening, while Daniel was out, I received another message from Victor. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. Come see me. Stop living in lies. You're already mine. Let me show you. My blood ran cold. He wanted me to come to him. And the terrifying part? Some part of me, the broken, betrayed part, wanted answers. I couldn't keep living in the dark, haunted by pieces of a night I barely remembered. If Daniel wouldn't give me the full truth, maybe Victor would. That night, when Daniel came home, I didn't tell him about the message. I just pretended everything was the same. But inside, I had already made a decision. I was going to meet Victor. Not because I trusted him. Not because I wanted to. But because I needed to know. I needed to uncover what Daniel had truly done to me. The next day, I stood outside Victor's mansion. My heart pounded, my palms slick with sweat. I rang the doorbell. And when the door opened, Victor himself stood there, smiling like he had been expecting me all along. Finally, he said, his voice smooth, almost seductive. My wife has come home. I froze on the doorstep, my heart racing. The man who had stolen everything from me was now calling me his wife. I stood there on the threshold, staring at him. Victor, the man who had slithered into my life through shadows and betrayal, now standing before me as though he owned not only my husband's business, but also me. My wife has come home, he repeated, his smile widening as if my silence was agreement. My pulse raced, every instinct screaming at me to run. But my feet remained rooted. I had come here for answers, and I wouldn't leave until I got them. I'm not your wife, I managed to whisper, my voice trembling but sharp. Victor chuckled softly, stepping aside to gesture toward the inside. Come in, Alina. You won't find the truth standing at the door. I swallowed hard, then stepped inside. The door closed behind me with a heavy, echoing thud that made my heart jolt. The mansion was grand, every corner oozing wealth and power. But it felt cold, lifeless, like the man who owned it. He poured 2 glasses of wine and slid one across the table toward me. I didn't touch it. I didn't come here to drink, I said, my voice firmer now. I came here to know what really happened that night. Tell me, Victor. Tell me everything. He leaned back, swirling his wine casually, his eyes never leaving mine. You really want to know? Even if it destroys what little faith you have left in Daniel? My throat tightened, but I nodded. He leaned forward, his voice low, almost intimate. That night, you were vulnerable. You drank too much. Daniel knew it. He led you to me like an offering. And I accepted. I felt sick, my stomach twisting painfully. Victor smirked at my expression, continuing mercilessly. You don't remember, do you? How you leaned on me, how you whispered my name. You were mine before you even realized it. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I don't believe you. Oh, but you should. He pulled out his phone, swiping until he showed me another photo. My breath caught. It was me, my head resting on his chest, his hand caressing my hair. My eyes were half closed, a faint smile on my lips. I wanted to scream, to tear the phone from his hands and smash it. But I couldn't move. Victor's eyes gleamed with triumph. That was the night Daniel gave you away. The moment you lay in my arms, you stopped being his. And whether you admit it or not, Alina, you belong to me now. My heart hammered in my chest. No, I snapped, my voice breaking but defiant. You stole me. You manipulated both of us. I don't belong to you. I never will. He laughed, slow and mocking. You say that now. But deep inside, you're questioning everything. You wonder what's true, what's a lie. And soon, you'll see Daniel is the real traitor. I only took what he handed me. His words sank deep into my bones. And the worst part? He was right about one thing. I was questioning everything. Had Daniel truly loved me, or had I just been collateral in his desperate climb for success? Had I been blind to the man I married? Victor leaned closer, his voice a whisper now, but sharp as a knife. Do you know why Daniel is so weak, Alina? Because he knows you're mine. That's why he avoids your eyes. That's why he crumbles whenever I send him a message. Deep down, he knows you're not his wife anymore. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. But then, something inside me shifted. I was done being a victim. I opened my eyes and met his gaze with fire. You may think you own me, Victor, but you don't. I came here for answers, not for you. You can threaten, manipulate, and send your disgusting photos. But you'll never have me, not my heart, not my soul. For the first time, his smile faltered. I stood up, my legs trembling but strong enough to carry me. You want to play games? Fine. But remember this, I am not the same weak woman you think I am. You stole my dignity once. Never again. I turned toward the door, ready to leave. But before I could, his voice stopped me. You'll be back, Alina, he called out, his tone calm, certain. Because when you learn the final truth about Daniel, you won't just hate him. You'll come running to me. I didn't answer. I walked out, my heart pounding, my mind spinning. The ride home was a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Every word Victor said echoed in my head, twisting like a knife. Daniel gave me away. I leaned on Victor. I belonged to him. Could it all be true? Or was Victor feeding me lies to break me completely? I didn't know, but I knew one thing. I couldn't keep living in shadows. I needed the truth from Daniel's own lips, every last piece of it. That night, when Daniel returned, I confronted him. I went to see Victor, I said coldly, watching his face pale instantly. You did what? I wanted to hear the truth. From him. Because you never gave it to me. Daniel's hands shook as he reached for me. Alina, no, you shouldn't have gone. He's dangerous. Dangerous? I cut him off bitterly. You handed me over to him. Don't pretend you care about danger now. Daniel looked like he'd collapse. I did it because I thought it would end there. I never imagined he'd keep tormenting us. I stepped closer, my eyes burning into his. Tell me, Daniel, what really happened that night? Did you watch him take me? Did you hear me? Did you just stand there? Tears streamed down his face. I can't. My hand trembled as I slapped him across the face. Then I'll find out myself, I whispered. I stormed into our bedroom, yanking open drawers, searching desperately. Daniel followed, panicked. Alina, stop. What are you doing? I'm looking for proof. Diaries. Emails. Anything. And then, under a pile of old files, I found it. A contract. Signed by Daniel. And by Victor. My blood ran cold as I scanned the words. My name was written there. My presence at the party. A clause about an exchange of trust. I couldn't breathe. I looked at Daniel, horror flooding my face. You sold me in writing? Daniel fell to his knees, sobbing, as I stood frozen with a contract in my hands. My husband had signed me away like a deal on paper. I clutched the contract in my trembling hands, the words blurring through my tears. My name, written there like a commodity, as if I were nothing more than property to be exchanged between men. Daniel collapsed at my feet, sobbing. Alina, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought it was just a business agreement. I was desperate. I didn't want to lose everything. I stared at him, my heart breaking and hardening at the same time. You didn't want to lose everything? My voice shook with fury. So you gave me up instead? You made me the price of your survival? He looked up, tears streaming. I thought it would be one night, Alina. Just one night. I thought you'd never know. I thought I could protect you after. Protect me? My laugh was bitter, hollow. You didn't protect me, Daniel. You betrayed me in the most disgusting way. You didn't just cheat. You sold your own wife. The silence that followed was suffocating. That night, I packed my bags. Daniel begged, pleaded, even fell to his knees again. But my heart was no longer his to reach. As I zipped the last suitcase shut, I looked at him with finality. The moment you put my name on that contract, our marriage ended. You don't deserve forgiveness. I walked out, leaving him broken in the ruins of his lies. But I wasn't finished yet. For days, I stayed silent, planning carefully. I knew Victor would be expecting me to come crawling to him, shattered and hopeless. That thought alone ignited the fire inside me. I wouldn't let either of them, Daniel or Victor, win. So I gathered every shred of evidence I had. The photos Victor had sent me. The contract Daniel had signed. Copies of financial transfers tied to Victor's company. And with steady determination, I prepared my revenge. The night of Victor's grand business gala arrived. I slipped into the venue in a sleek black dress, my head held high. I wasn't there as anyone's wife. I was there as a woman reclaiming her dignity. Victor spotted me instantly, his lips curling into that smug smile. I knew you'd come back, he said smoothly, extending his hand. Welcome home, my wife. I didn't take his hand. Instead, I raised my voice just enough for the nearby guests to hear. I came here to expose you, Victor. His smile faltered. Careful, Alina. but I was past fear. I pulled a folded contract from my purse, holding it high. This man made a deal with my husband. He didn't just destroy a marriage, he orchestrated it. He manipulated, blackmailed, and exploited. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victor's jaw tightened. You think anyone will believe you? Oh, they will, I said, my voice steady. Because I have every document, every photo, every message. And tomorrow morning, the media will too. Daniel stumbled into the room then, pale and desperate. Alina, please, don't do this. You'll ruin us all. I turned to face him coldly. You ruined me the night you signed that paper. Victor sneered. You're playing a dangerous game, Alina. Without me, your husband is nothing. And without him, you're just enough. I snapped, my voice sharp as a blade. I am not my husband's shadow. I am not your property. I am Alina, and from tonight forward, I live for myself. The room erupted in murmurs. Victor reached for me, his mask slipping, anger flashing in his eyes. But before he could touch me, security, already tipped off with my evidence, intervened. He struggled, shouting curses as they dragged him away. This isn't over, Alina. You'll regret this. I stood tall, unflinching. No, Victor. The only ones who should regret anything are you and Daniel. Later that night, as the chaos settled, Daniel approached me one last time outside the venue. His face was hollow, his voice broken. Alina, I know I don't deserve you. I know I've lost everything. But please, don't leave me completely. You were all I ever truly had. I looked at him, the man I had once loved with every beat of my heart. But all I felt now was emptiness. You had me, I whispered, and you threw me away. I'll never forget what you did, Daniel. But I will move on. Without you. And with that, I turned and walked into the night, free at last. Epilogue, a new beginning. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment overlooking the city. The air felt lighter, the weight of betrayal slowly lifting from my shoulders. I had started my own small business, using the compensation money I forced from Daniel in the divorce. It wasn't about wealth, it was about building something that was mine. Sometimes the memories still haunted me, the contract, the photos, the lies. But instead of breaking me, they reminded me of my strength. I wasn't just the woman who had been betrayed. I was the woman who survived. And I would never let anyone write my story for me again. Final line. He gave me away, but I took myself back. And that is the sweetest revenge of all.